Following the 2020 presidential election, many people raised concerns about the integrity of the election process.
There was a surge in election legislation introduced after the 2020 presidential election. According to a report from Voting Rights Lab, which tracked election legislation, 39 states enacted new laws related to mail-in voting.
Another survey conducted by the Associated Press and the NORC Center for Public Affairs found that less than half of Americans, 44%, are confident in the election process.
Speaking of elections, we are getting ready for another big election year, and a lot can change in 4 years.
And that's right, Trey. Here's News 25's Brooke Parker in studio to tell us what voting will look like in the Magnolia State come November.
Mississippi is one state that has seen a change in how it handles elections. As we head into another presidential election year, the Secretary of State is working to give the public their confidence back when heading to the polls. I spoke with Secretary Michael Watson about how the office is crossing their T's and dotting their I's this election.
It's much less today, not that it was large 4 years ago. And I think when people say there is no such thing as a voting fraud, that they're lying to you.
While rare, voter fraud does happen. It's not a widespread issue in Mississippi, but it is something that legislature and Secretary of State have cracked down on since 2020.
It's finding those simple instances where it may just be 1 or 2 votes. But unfortunately, too many times we look at the federal level and say 1 or 2 votes doesn't really matter. 1 or 2 votes really does matter when you talk about a city election, a school board election, those elections that are really closer to the people that can impact your lives much more quickly. So 1 vote, doesn't matter what it is. If it's 1, that's 1 too many.
Mail-in ballots have actually decreased since 2023, and counties now decide what works best on voting day.
I think you're going to see a continued focus on election day. There's some chatter in the legislature right now to look at a different couple of ways to vote, so we'll see what happens over there.
Small changes have been made to protect your vote on election days, and as we head into presidential elections, your vote will be tracked from the moment you walk into the polls.
In all 82 counties, by November, they have to have basically what we refer to as a paper verifiable trail. So you'll go in and you'll vote. You'll get to see how you marked your ballot. That ballot will then go into an Optus scanner, so it'll count it. And at the end of the day, again, if there's any questions, we always have that paper ballot to go back and look.
You can learn more about voting by visiting sos.ms.gov/y'allvote. In Gulfport, Brooke Parker, WXXV News 25.